Please help support the channel and purchase PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds at the affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and it's like 2 months ago there was controversy surrounding Batman White Knight. It was a new limited run coming out of DC this October, where essentially the Joker has been cured of his insanity, and he then decides to basically go after Batman by turning the entire city of Gotham against him and making Batman the bad guy. And this is the video I did on it, and at the time, I probably took it a little bit too hard. I will admit that. I looked at it, I watched the video again, and I think I was just coming at it a little bit too hard. You know, cooler heads prevail months later. And part of it has to do with this tweet that came out from Seth Gordon Murphy, who is the creator of this particular series, saying here, Batman White Knight is not SJW Batman. Not that it should matter, but I'm center left. I wrote a Gotham for everyone. Now, there's been lots of questions as to why Seth here felt the need to bring that particular thing to prominence, why he decided to make a comment about it at all. And that probably has a lot to do with the way that it was presented when they first released the information for it, well, you know, 2 months ago. And that had to be, oh, Batman's the villain, Joker's the good guy. But in the context of why those things were happening, I think a few of us, including myself, definitely jumped on it from the overall negative perspective. And this has a lot to do with the way that Marvel has been running things lately. I think it just kind of like transferred over to DC. The way I look at it now, and again, reading through the stuff, is that, well, here, let's just take a look at the official description once again. So it says, in a world where Batman has gone too far, the Joker must save Gotham City. Now, right there, you can see where people might be getting upset at that one, right? Like, that's just like, oh, Batman's gone too far, Joker's not the good guy. What kind of craziness are we living in? You know, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria, that sort of thing. He's been called a maniac, a killer, and a clown prince of crime, but White Knight, never until now. Again, that's important because this is where I think, again, the problem lies, is the title of the comic is Batman White Knight, implying that it's Batman that's the White Knight, implying something along those lines. Then again, the online terminology for the term White Knight comes into play, so there might have just been a confusion in how the message was delivered. I think the title in this particular case is clearly one of those problems. So it says here, set in a world where the Joker is cured of his insanity and homicidal tendencies, the Joker, now known as Jack, sets about trying to right his wrongs. First, he plans to reconcile with Harley Quinn, then he'll try to save the city from the one person who he thinks is truly Gotham's greatest villain, Batman. And so that right there, again, is the meat of the story. And I don't feel necessarily that the title is indicative of what we're going to get. So basically, if he's been cured of his insanity and his homicidal tendencies, and he's trying to right his wrongs, you could look at it almost like a guy trying to go through rehab or a 12-step program, where part of that is you need to call the people that you've hurt the most and atone for that and make up for that. And he could be doing something very similar in that regard. And then he will then try to save the city from the one person he thinks is you know, truly Gotham's greatest villain, Batman. And then he starts using that against him, probably, you know, propaganda against the Batman. Look at all the criminals Batman has hurt outside of the justice system. How many of them have been left beaten, broken, crippled, you know, as a result of just doing petty crimes because he shows up as a vigilante. And that's probably going to be a fair amount of what the Joker or Jack here uses in order to stop Batman or to turn the city against them. It's a lot of propaganda, a lot of anti-vigilantism, things along those lines, which ultimately, I think in this day and age, if Gotham were a real place and this was a real scenario, could work. It wouldn't be hard. Look at the events of Charlottesville a few weeks ago. I'm not trying to say that people in Charlottesville were good. I'm merely saying look at the propaganda that followed. Now, in my last video about this, I did talk a bit about Antifa and how they are violent. We saw this play out in Charlottesville. We saw this play out in other events past Charlottesville, to the point of where the media, and this is, again, this is kind of what I feel the Joker is going to do in this particular scenario here, is that the Joker is going to be able to take something like that, and they'll be able to do what the media did after something like Charlottesville. which would be lionizing Antifa as being a counter to white supremacists or Batman. I mean, again, I'm not making that direct comparison. I'm just using them as this kind of examples. And then being able to use that kind of lionization of this group, or of what they represent, at least, in order to then turn public perception of them against, you know, Batman there, right? And again, I'm not trying to say that Batman's like white supremacists. They are wholly different in nature. Simply just an example that I'm trying to use. It may not be the best one, but I think you guys get what I'm trying to say here. And so that's kind of what I feel that the Joker will be doing in this comic book, turning the city, using those tactics against them, which does definitely back up the claim here that it's not an SJW Batman. I just find it funny that Sean here had to make that claim, that he had to come out and identify and say that this is not what it's going to be. And a lot of people are confused. A lot of people that are on the left-leaning side of things, that are what you might consider social justice warriors, from what I've read, have been confused about this, like not fully understanding why it needed to be said. And I get it. I get it from the perspective of just, well, perception. Batman White Knight 2 months ago got a lot of, you could say, mixed to negative reactions based upon the title, based upon the description, and based upon the lack of information. And then, you know, here we are a month away from its release. Warner's is going to be getting ready to start rolling this thing out. So we're going to start seeing a whole bunch of new adverts for it, or there's going to be a bunch of, you know, interviews and promotion marketing material coming out for it. And they don't want it to be associated with that. So Seth here probably felt that his best course of action would be to establish this is not SJW Batman and his political views. So people, you know, people out there aren't going to be like, oh, you're like some, you know, uber left, you know, pro Antifa cuck or whatever, you know, and this is, you're trying to like shoehorn in this kind of like radical leftist ideology into Batman. I don't think that's entirely possible to do in general. I do realize that in watching my previous video, it might have been a little bit too harsh. So for that, I do apologize. I should have probably approached it better. But hey, you know what? A couple months later, cooler heads prevail, and I think we have a better understanding of what this particular property is going to be like. And like I said in the last video, I don't know what's going to be in it, but I am definitely excited to read it. So there's that. Well, gang, that wraps up this video. Be sure to leave your thoughts below in the comments, as I love to read them. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, links below in the video description. We have Patreon, PayPal, Amazon affiliate in the beginning of the video, as well as Bitcoin now. During the apocalypse, anything helps. I greatly appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.